All right, welcome back. Now, according to the IEC, South Africa has 2.7 million more women than men registered to vote in the November 1st local government election. Now, that's a difference of 11%, which, by the way, suggests that women have quite a stronger commitment and intention to vote than men. But how will then gender differences play out at the polls? Do men and women actually prefer different parties when it comes to voting at the local government level? Let's bring in now Professor Leila Patel from the University of Johannesburg to help us unpack this trend. And Prof, it's a good morning to you. Good to have you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So we're keen to know then, do gender differences actually play a role at the polls?
So it's kind of there isn't a straight yes or no answer. But firstly, I would say that women do make a difference because of the large numbers of potentially of registered voters. So if you think of it, surely purely in terms of size, and then there's women, slightly more women than men in the overall national population. So the intention to vote is there. Whether they will, of course, their parties can bring them out to vote is another question.
Yeah. With that being said, I mean, do you think men and women vote differently? Do you think women would tend to have expectations from a political party that are different from men?
Yes. So what we found in our research, and it's changed slightly, since a year ago when we asked the same question of who would you prefer in the local government elections next year? And then we compared that with the Ipsos data, which was released in September. And so we see that there are changes as we come in closer to the elections. So say a year ago, 5% more women than men preferred the ANC, and there were no gender differences except for the EFF, where there was a small difference where men preferred the EFF over women. And now we see in September this year with the Ipsos poll that there actually more men prefer the EFF than women by about 14%, and 6% in the case of the DA. But in the case of the ANC, the numbers are pretty even. They're 50-50 is the split.
Right.
So that, I think, is quite interesting to see.
So with that being said, Prof, if I may just ask, I mean, what factors do men and women consider when casting their vote to their political parties? I mean, if my research is correct here, looking at social grants, I mean, just indicating that it seems that according to these factors, for example, it seems, fewer women than men indicated that they actually feared that social grants would be stopped. Are we seeing different factors here that they do consider when making a vote?
That's so important to unpack a little bit. But what we do see here is that there are no really substantive differences between men and women in their choice in their reasons for voting for a particular party, and that this stayed the same over 4 waves of our research. And in this case, we are specifically in relation to the local government elections. And we thought that local issues would be more important. But there are no substantive differences, except the one difference is on job creation. And so those who thought that, employment was important, but
right,
that also applied across the board.
All right, we'll leave it there, but thank you for speaking to us and giving us such an insight on how voters go between men and women. Thank you so much, Professor Leila Patel from UJ.